What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. Going to have a good conversation about some draft clues that were dropped by Titans' new defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, on his Wednesday press conference. I know Easton and JT had a good conversation yesterday about what Brian Dable had to say. And you had more to get to and didn't have time for it. And good thing that you did skip it, because we wouldn't have had anything to talk about today, because we are stuck in the middle of nowhere land when it comes to the Titans, because there's nothing happening in the NFL right now or this weekend. But next week is going to be pretty busy. The NFL Combine is next week. Easton, you and JT will be driving to Indianapolis on Monday right after the show for the next 4 days of next week to be all Combine all the time. And it is going to be a great week, and we are going to have loaded content. We will talk about that throughout the week. And I'm going to touch on, we might tease some things over this show about what we have coming up with good news. I'm going to drop some good news about our Combine coverage, not just here locally for the Titans coverage, but just A to Z Sports as a whole. We'll talk about some draft clues here. And then also you asked Gus Bradley about T'Vondre Sweat's usage in this defense. And it was the longest answer he gave. Gus Bradley said more words in response to your question about T'Vondre Sweat than any other singular question he was asked on Wednesday. What does that mean?
What does it mean? Indeed.
Yes.
Well, hello, Austin.
Hey.
I didn't know we were ending on a there. It's good to be with you this morning. It's good to be with everyone in the chat. No, Daniel Caribbean, A to Z does not charter like the Big Ten. That's in the near future.
Would be dumb.
It's in the near future.
Well, I mean, we are paying for a couple of guys to fly in there, but Easton and JT just get the drive.
Yeah, but we need a jet, Austin. A jet.
From where? Jet. We've got people all over the place.
From our deep coffers. We just stop like a bus.
Yeah. So here's what's gonna happen. The jet's gonna take off from Nashville. It's gonna fly up to Philadelphia, where Kyle Krabs and Ryan Roberts are flying out of, and then it's gonna take those guys and fly to Indianapolis. That makes the most sense.
Yeah, you're getting it now. So that's the plan. We'll do that probably next year. But I'm stoked to be up there, and we'll talk more about that in good news. We've got a good conversation for you guys today. All we need is for you to like the show. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being in the comment section, and we'll appreciate it when you hit that like button. We can see the likes right now, and I think you've all forgotten to like the show, which is fine. That's why I'm here to remind you. Like the show. It's free. Hit that thumbs up button on Facebook or on YouTube just below our faces on your screen. It costs you nothing. It's extremely helpful for us and the algorithm and all of these things. So we appreciate you guys liking the show. And then please do jump into the comments. I want to hear your thoughts on today's conversation regarding the Titans defense. Side of the ball that they are going to have to do a whole lot of work on somehow in the next couple of months, whether that's in free agency or in the draft. There's going to be a lot of new names and faces on Gus Bradley and Robert Saleh's side of the ball. And I think Gus Bradley's press conference dropped a couple of interesting clues on that front. So we're going to dig into all of that once you've liked the show, once you've jumped into the comments. Okay, that was ample time. Austin, we can get started.
Now, Nick says, A to Z Island. Whoa, be careful. Hey, we're not easy there. Come on.
The reality show, not the...
Oh, okay. Just making sure we're all
nothing
good.
That requires court filings.
Okay, I hope not. All right, let's get it going officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports here live on a Friday. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Easton Freeze, our Titans reporter for A2ZSports.com, Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up there at A to Z Sports. Also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. I'm also dropping the Google preferred source link, because you can follow A to Z Sports on Google. So whenever you're Googling Titans free agency, Titans mock draft, Titans draft prospects, all of these things over the next couple of months, A to Z Sports will show up as a preferred source for you. That goes a long way for us, and obviously helps you out too, finding the best Titans content. I got to thank our sponsors, because they make it happen and they help out all of you as well. Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Online, boneandjointtn.org. The Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They're local and online at bartondrury.com. And Window Nation, take advantage of February's great deal just for another 8 or 9 days. That's all it takes in February. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows for free, and an extra 10% sprinkled off the top there at windownation.com. So, Easton, again, live here on a Friday, we're going to discuss some Gus Bradley draft clues that he dropped about what types of players they're looking for in the draft. And we will discuss the difference of what the Titans may be looking for on defense in the draft versus free agency. We'll talk about T'Vondre Sweat. But I did want to start off, as some people in the chat have been commenting about it. There was a tragedy is a light way to say it, I feel like, in the sports media world of Tennessee sports, especially Tennessee Volunteers. Wes Rucker tragically, horrifically passed away yesterday in a traffic accident on I-40 in Knoxville, less than an hour after he concluded his show for WBIR yesterday. And I'm a little spooked, shook. He's somebody that I don't know Wes like personally that well, other than some run-ins at covering events for the Tennessee Volunteers in Nashville over the years. I never worked in Knoxville outside of my time as a student, where he was a mainstay, one of the first to really take advantage of Twitter in sports media coverage, especially in the Knoxville market. And was honestly somebody that everybody followed. Everybody had some type of interaction with at some point along the way. And, the details on the accident are terrifying. He has a wife, obviously a 4-year-old son who he deeply cared for and was very public about his life as a father and life as a husband, and they have a daughter on the way in the month of May. And so I know anybody who's got a little one, anybody who has any family, just whatever, it's a tough day because of how Wes went about his life and went about his career, which he blended quite often because that's who he was. And so, I wanted to kind of start things off. I thought about saving this for good news, but honestly, I don't think I could have gotten through 50 minutes of a show without even addressing it first. So, Easton, I don't know if you have anything to kind of add to that, but a pretty horrible situation. And Wes Rucker, at 43 years old, is gone.
I did not know Wes. I was not familiar with much of his work. Similar worlds, but different worlds in that way. What I'll say is that as I've scrolled social media the past 24 hours and seen the reaction to this news, I'm touched by how clearly his memory is a blessing for so many people in this community and in this industry. And I'm somebody that thinks pretty highly of legacy and the legacy that we leave behind with those that we come in contact with. As a believer, you don't get to decide when your time on this earth is done, and so making the most of every day and every interaction is I think the only thing, or one of the only things that you can control. And it seems to me, based on the reaction, that we say when somebody passes that may their memory be a blessing. It seems pretty clear to me that Wes's is, and it's obviously a life cut tragically short, but a life well lived, and I think that deserves to be celebrated.
And Rooney asked, any GoFundMe or anything? I'm not sure yet. I mean, this happened roughly 3:50 Central, 4:50 p.m. Eastern yesterday afternoon. And so, it's less than 24 hours. It's barely just over 12 hours. And
I'm
so
sure there will be.
There will be. I know I've put out some lines to some people that are in the Knoxville media market, and I'm sure there will be something, and we'll be sure to share that across our social media. Even though, we're a Titans show, I'm a Vol grad. And like I mentioned, I didn't know Wes in person, but at one point in my life, reading him was every day of my routine. As I was a journalism student with a sports focus, going through that and he was really cutting his teeth and building his brand as well. So I put out a 2-minute clip of his show yesterday because I watched. He had an entire hour-long show on WBIR right before he was driving home from work. when this happened. And so I put out a 2-minute clip yesterday that if you don't know who Wes is, that 2-minute clip tells you everything about who Wes is and how he went about his work. And he said some very profound things on that show, not knowing that his demise was around the corner, unfortunately. And that, he was talking about today's show. He was talking about Saturday, the weekend, and spring football and March Madness, and very surreal to watch that last night after the news came out. So thoughts, prayers, everything, whatever you have going towards his wife, Lauren, 4-year-old Hank, and daughter on the way. So wanted to kind of touch on that before we got to some Titans conversation here. But we will make sure to pass along anything on our socials to check that out to help in any way people can. So, all right. Now, Easton, Gus Bradley, I thought the new Titans defensive coordinator was the more interesting of the two coordinators that talked on Wednesday. Would you agree that Gus Bradley had way more interesting things to say than offensive coordinator Brian Daboll?
I would, which is funny because he's the guy that is going to be, frankly, cared about a lot less because he's not calling the plays. He's running Robert Saleh's defense, and so he's in that role that fans generally have a hard time putting their finger on, like, what does this guy do around here? We just saw that with Nick Holtz. We've seen that in high-profile situations like with Matt Nagy in Kansas City, for example. So he's gonna get hate when things are going poorly because he's kind of a scapegoat position, and he's probably not going to get as much praise as he deserves when things are going well because it's a scapegoat position. But he clearly has done this before. He had the same kind of head coach chops that we saw from Brian Daboll, both very polished, very experienced guys. He said that his disposition is generally 85 and sunny, and that shone through in my first interaction with him in person. He was somebody that had a lot of juice, a lot of energy, was a magnetic personality up at the podium, was easy to talk to and to listen to. And I think they both were very, very generic and didn't go into much detail on things because everything is so new. They are themselves still learning the personnel, et cetera, et cetera. But I did think the couple of little tidbits he gave, and maybe it's just, frankly, because it's clearer what has to happen on defense. Like, we know offense, there's going to be some changes and some important ones, but on defense, it's very obvious, like, well, they have to add a couple of cornerbacks. They have to add at edge. There's some things that must be done. And we're also, I think, all kind of assuming that first overall pick is going to go towards the defense right now. Maybe that's a foolish assumption. We'll talk more about that next week, I think, in a lot of detail. But the edge rushers are top of mind for everybody, and so we talked to him about the edge rushers.
Yes. So here's what Gus Bradley had to say about how do you define the edge rusher role in this defense?
I think that just talking in general terms, I think that one end is maybe an end on first and second down, and then might have the ability to slide inside on third down, where the other end is maybe a true rusher. He's on the end, edge, first and second down, and third down as well.
So pretty brief there. To me, when I heard that, I was like, well, I mean, it kind of sounds like a 3-4, doesn't it? Okay.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I think this is just a savvy move covering all his bases, right? Because he basically said, well, we want a David Bailey type over here, and we want a Ruben Bain type over here. And it's like, all right, boss, well, you can get either of those guys at 4, so well done.
Yes. Good on you of answering both the options that the Titans have at 4th overall. Maybe Arvell Reese enters the picture. I don't know.
That's
right? Because the more mock drafts I continue to do on simulators across the internet, the more often Arvell Reese pops up at number 4 overall.
I am so tempted to dive into this now, but we're going to talk so much about those 3 next week, and to some important people. So
yeah, we can continue. We will discuss.
Oh, I know. I'm going to bite my tongue on this a little bit because starting Monday morning, get ready for some edge.
Because Monday morning, by the way, will be a full blown NFL Combine preview with Easton and Ryan Roberts.
Yeah,
Why?
baby.
Because Ryan is going to be way better than me on that show, and I cannot wait to listen.
He'll be better
to
than
it
me
because,
too, for the record.
Yeah,
We need a
Ryan
ringer.
is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait for Ryan to be more ingrained in the morning show moving forward, because it is Ryan Roberts season here for our Titans coverage, and you guys got to know Ryan a little bit last season during this time when I was in and out with our newborn, and then Sam was taking a honeymoon that lasted more days than he was on an island himself. So
the world's longest honeymoon.
Yeah, the world's longest honeymoon. So Ryan will be joining the show, and look, the combine coverage is going to be ridiculous.
Killer.
It's going to be so good. In fact, Easton and I have a rendezvous in a couple hours to make sure equipment is solid on this. So
That's right.
But again, the Arvell Reese aspect of this is fascinating, because I'm seeing more David Bailey to the Jets on these mock draft simulators than I have over the previous few weeks. So that's the situation that Gus Bradley threw out there about the edge rushers. And so it was a short answer, but he was asked to follow up if that player will line up with his hand in the dirt. And he said, we're looking at all those things right now. What's the best for our personnel? And we're in the beginning stages of just looking at the big picture. So both coordinators on Wednesday were very careful to not say much of anything. Now, then I thought this is the answer, besides your question about T'Vondre Sweat. This is the answer that I heard from Gus Bradley that made me go, oh, really? Okay. And it was asked, and this was a straight up broad question about what do you want your defense to be known for week in and week out? Here's DC Gus Bradley.
The pitcher is a fast and violent defense, so, I don't think you're going to see 45 different coverages, 50 different blitzes. If we can do that and still play fast and violent, we'll do it, but not at the expense of one of those two. So I think it's very important that our players go out there. We've always had a defense that we felt like guys could come in early in their stage, early in their career and play. And we want to keep that part of it open. But the game is evolving. I mean, what it looked like 5 years ago to what it is now, is completely different. So to have those adjustables, the things that you need, and the coverage principles and pressures is important. We're growing in that area, but always with that in the back of our mind, never at the expense of being fast and violent.
So the fast and furious and ferocious and all that, like that coach speak, yada, 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 things you put on the walls in the hallway. But then he drops the one thing, and I was curious to see if the chat picked up on it, as the same way I did, of, oh, so you want to have a defense, and quote, we've always had a defense that we felt like guys can come in early in their stage, early in their career, and play. And we want to keep part of it open. I was like, okay. Because, Easton, we've talked on the air, off the air, throughout this Robert Saleh post being hired of, you've got a ton of cap space, really valuable draft capital. Do you invest smart veterans on the head coach's expertise side of the ball? Or do you draft younger on that side of the ball because your head coach is the expertise on the defensive side, and you let him quickly elevate the younger guys, and you sign the veteran, more experienced guys in free agency on the opposite side of the ball as a head coach, because that raises the floor there. And so this has been something we've talked a lot about, and Gus Bradley, I think, kind of sprinkled a little bit of the clues there that I thought was interesting.
So I hear where you're coming from, and that's interesting because it's not how I took it.
Oh.
But I think there's a very strong argument to be made that what you're pointing to is correct. It's funny how we read into things this time of year, because the school of thought that I had heard a good deal before this press conference, just talking about Saleh in general, is that, he's somebody that people are hoping will be an elevator and a teacher and a developer in a way that will allow the defense not to be neglected by any means in the offseason, but maybe lesser resources attributed to that side of the ball in service of setting Cam Ward up for maximum success on offense. And again, not neglecting to get bodies, but maybe less premium bodies, right? Like instead of using the top pick or the biggest contract you hand out in free agency or whatever it is, we give Saleh guys that have upside and then bank on him getting that upside out of them. That is kind of counter to what you're talking about. And I don't know which is which. Like, I think next week, talking to some folks, maybe I'll get a clearer picture on this. But what you're talking about is interesting because I'm reminded of, I forget, I'm trying to remember when. I think it was December, near the end of the season, when we were starting to talk about coaching candidates. And it must have been around when they were playing the 49ers, because it was a conversation about Saleh. And I'm not trying to steal my boy Nick Suss's spot, but he's the one who asked this question. And it stuck with me. He spoke with Titans backup quarterback, Brandon Allen, who was with the 49ers during the time that Saleh was there. And asked him, like, what exactly is it about Saleh and Shanahan's system out there that allows them, because at the time we were talking a lot about how, hey, this defense is ravaged for San Francisco, and they still are playing really high-level ball. Saleh's getting the most out of them. How does this happen when you're missing your two most important players? And Brandon Allen's answer, I'm aggressively paraphrasing here, and I wish I looked, I could not find, this was a long time ago on the Tennessee, and I'll eventually go find that quote. But he said something along the lines of, they do an exceptional and unique job in that program of not just holding everybody on the depth chart to the standard of being a starter. Like, you hear that from everybody. It's like, well, if you're on this team, you need to be prepared to play like a starter. Yes, of course. But what they do that's unique is, and I'm not sure how, but they manage to convince everybody in that locker room, whether you're edge 1 or edge 4, whether you're barely hanging on to the roster off the practice squad or you're on the practice squad and might get called up for a Sunday. They have you comfortable and confident in your ability to step into the role that you need to step into and hit the ground running, I guess is the best way to put it. And so when he talks about what he talked about in that clip of being fast and violent, but not having a scheme that's so overly complicated that guys can't come in and hit the ground running, I think that's kind of alluding to that culture. And I'm really looking forward to drilling down on how that works, like what that is. Because obviously every coach in the league would love to have a setup like that. It's conducive to succeeding because every team loses players, important players, in every season. And you'd love to be able to have guys just come in and hit the ground running. And for some reason, Saleh seems to do this better than others.
Okay. And well, somebody said, oh, it sounds a lot like Vrabel. Mike Vrabel did that pretty well in 2021. That's for damn sure. And the Titans had to do that a lot this past year, and it seems like they've had to do that a lot over the last several years. So, all right. Let's dive into this question to the audience and get you guys more involved here. And that is, do Gus Bradley's comments make you think, on my side of things, do you think the Titans will lean on youth or experience more when adding defensive players this offseason? Will they rely on youth or experience more when they're looking to add defensive players this offseason? We will get to your comments on that. I'll put up a YouTube poll because we got A versus B option here. But first, Easton, tell us all about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine. We love our friends at BJI because whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust, and we trust the Bone and Joint Institute, just off of I-65, down in my neck of the woods in Franklin. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area, it's just a hop and a skip away from where you are. There are over a dozen specialists in there that are going to help you through literally any type of injury. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you with your recovery, and they do it all under one roof for your convenience. Clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. They've got you covered tip to tail. Schedule an appointment today by going to boneandjointtn.org.
Make sure you hit that like button. Please like the show. Like the show. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should, because next week at the NFL Combine, there is going to be content regularly at our normal shows, because not only will Easton and JT and Ryan all be at the Combine, but Buck and Robert will also be at the Combine. So both the morning and the primetime shows will be at the NFL Combine next week. So make sure you hit that up, hit that like button.
Live from Radio Row.
Live from Radio Row. That's right. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. Somebody asked, what's the question? Do you think the Titans will look to add experience or youth more when they're trying to add on the defensive side of the ball? Youth or experience is the question. Which one do you think they will add more of when trying to invest in the defensive side of the ball under Robert Saleh? Easton, while you sneeze again and go to the chat, let's play one more Gus Bradley comment again about this defense as a whole.
The pitcher is a fast and violent defense, so, I don't think you're going to see 45 different coverages, 50 different blitzes. If we can do that and still play fast and violent, we'll do it, but not at the expense of one of those two. So I think it's very important that our players go out there. We've always had a defense that we felt like guys could come in early in their stage, early in their career and play. And we want to keep that part of it open. But the game is evolving. I mean, what it looked like 5 years ago to what it is now, is completely different. So to have those adjustables, the things that you need in the coverage principles and pressures is important. We're growing in that area, but always with that in the back of our mind, never at the expense of being fast and violent.
So youth or experience, because when I heard that, what stood out to me was having young players early in the stage of their career come in and play with it not being too complicated. So I'm putting up the YouTube poll right now for you guys to jump into that one. So which do you think the Titans will invest more in on the defense side of the ball this offseason? Youth, meaning the draft, or experience, meaning free agency? Now, Easton, you talked about how you didn't quite hear that the same way that I did, but to the chat you go. Youth or experience, what are you seeing from the audience so far?
Major Keys says experience. Daniel Caribbean says veteran defense. Experience. Rooney hears the youth argument. Daniel says experience, youth on offense. So experience on defense, youth on offense. Should be experience, says Keelan. Veteran, says Nero. Bork says youth, except for at corner. Tall Texan, youth can just read and react. Assad already have youth, so you'd hope for some proven experience players. Well, a lot of this, the middle class of this team is hollowed out. Everybody on the freaking roster is either a baby or really old. Youth, says Sean. Duran, I'm not reading your comment because you broke the rules. Nate says, Titans fan says, experience, cool to be fast and violent, but if you don't know when and where to apply it, then it's just wasted energy. Youth, says Billy. So I'm not sure there is a consensus. Jake, you're right. It is going to piss us off. I'm not reading your comment. You broke the rules. So many of you just rule breakers this morning. How dare you? Raymond, rule breaker. Experience, says Steven. No doubt in his mind. He wants experience on the defense. He thinks that's where they'll go. Big Ten Jeff, who eventually got the question. He was struggling there for a minute. Experience is his answer. Experience. Youth. Experience. So I think we're leaning experience, despite what you heard, Austin, but there clearly is a strong contingent that heard the youth argument in there. Maybe it's a little 60-40 action.
Well, I'm going to keep letting this poll go because it's only 1 minute ago.
Okay.
So we're going to keep letting the thing grow. I think this is tough because you also have to consider the offensive side of the ball because of Cam Ward, right? Cam Ward is a big cog in this entire conversation because at the same time, how do you want to surround Cam Ward? We've had this conversation too last year. Like, do you want veteran receivers to help Cam Ward elevate because veteran receivers know where to be and when to be there and can be more reliable than another young receiver group that's still trying to figure it out on the fly, that's going to maybe set Cam up to fail in some spots because they're not reliable? You know, it's tough because this team needs everything. And you only have 1 4th overall draft pick. It would be great if you could add Carnell Tate and David Bailey at the 4th.
Sure.
My gut tells me I think they're going to go more youth on defense.
Okay.
They traded away some players that did not fit what Mike Borgonzi wanted, even though Denard Wilson liked them because Denard Wilson was not here for long at that point. I think they are trying to get their type of person, their type of player that they want in the draft on defense first. That is where I obviously best player available, yada, yada, all that kind of stuff matters. But I think emphasis on youth on defense is the way they're going to go, in my opinion.
All right. I am going to disagree with you. I'm going to say experience.
Awesome.
For kind of the same reason I laid out before. I think that ultimately, and look, what we're asking here is what are they going to do more of in the draft? Because obviously in free agency, like you can find younger free agents and some older free agents, but for the most part, free agents are not youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The young players that are in free agency are bad players because teams don't keep good young players or don't let go of good young players.
I don't know, Bob. Not that across
for the most part. This
bad
is true.
Player.
If you are a good young player, your team tends to keep you. That's just, that's how it goes, right?
But sometimes,
how many really good starters that are 25 years old are available in free agency? They don't exist. You know, they just don't. For the most part, there literally are a couple of examples of them. But name them. Like, the Kyle Pittses of the world aren't going to leave their team. The Alec Pierces of the world aren't going to leave their team.
We don't know that.
I know that.
Pierce, I think, is the more likely to stay. Pitts, I don't know.
I'm not gonna call Pitts a lock. I'd bet my house on Pierce. Pitts, I wouldn't bet my house on, but I would be. I'll go ahead and plant the flag. Chig's not a clear starter on 32 out of 32 teams, is he?
He is a start. I think he's a starting level tight end in a league where teams have 2 starting tight ends. Is Chigakonko is a top 50
if he could block even a little
NFL.
bit, I'd agree with you, but he can't.
Okay,
he's a receiver.
Is Chig a top 40 tight end in the NFL?
In the modern NFL, probably not.
Come on.
There are so many teams in the league that won't put you on the field if you can't block as a tight end. Just like straight up won't. I don't know, man. Like it's the blocking thing is that big a deal. And I like Chig. I'm not like the Chig hater around here. In the handful of offenses in the league where they will deploy a tight end who is really just a glorified receiver, Chig is a useful player there. No doubt about it.
There are players that come off of rookie deals every year that are quality players, but are not retained by their team that drafted them because of team building philosophy and stages of those rosters.
Of course, there's some
investment, right?
But Chig is exactly the example that proves my point, Austin, is that any young, and we're talking to me, like in free agency, like 27, 28 years old, you're not a young player anymore. You're not an old player. You know what I mean? But you're not like
26 is the typical. Your rookie contract ended.
Right.
If you're 22 coming out of school, you're 26 after your rookie deal ends. You're hitting free agency now with all the COVID players and guys staying in college longer. That's changing some. So
right.
27, 28 is when you're hitting free agency.
Okay, so we're on the same page in terms of youth in this conversation. We're talking about guys that are 26 and younger, and Chig is exactly.
Which are usually undrafted free agents.
Right. Chig is exactly the kind of guy that I'm talking about. Like, he's the kind of guy that is youthful free agent because there's going to be some pretty significant flaw with him. With Chig, it's that he's the worst starting blocking tight end in the league, or at least he was last year. So, but we're kind of off the beaten path here. My point is the quality free agents that you're going to sign as starters aren't going to be youth. They're going to be older players because that's just how it tends to go. Maybe there's an exception or two in there, but the youth is going to come from the draft. And so, let's think back to last year's draft. Like, they used the first overall pick on offense, obviously, but then they went defense, and then they went offense heavy at the end. So it's not like they have been. And let's go the year before that. They went offense, defense. Losing track of. Yeah, so you had JC and then Tavondre. Who'd they pick in the third round? They didn't have a third rounder, right? Yeah. They had no third rounder. Okay, so then they went Cedric Gray, Jaquan Jackson. Who else am I missing? Yada yada yada. I'm blanking this morning. The point is, the past 2 or 3 drafts have not been super heavy one side of the ball or the other. They've mixed it up a decent amount. Now, I do think last year, especially in free agency, they they did kind of neglect the defense, right? They went and signed a really expensive tackle. They went and spent on a right guard. They added, like, the biggest defensive ads was Draymond Jones, the biggest defensive ad, a $10 million APY.
Cody Barton, technically, because of a 3-year commitment, but yeah.
Right, less APY, but a longer.
Yeah.
So sure, yeah, like Cody Barton at $7 million a year and Draymond Jones at $10 million a year were the biggest commitments they made in free agency to defense last year. All of that is to say, I think that as much as Gus Bradley and Robert Saleh pride themselves on having a system that anybody inexperienced, good, bad at football, whoever you are on the depth chart, can step in and hit the ground running, and that's an important thing to have. I do think that this organization, the front office, will philosophically say, we brought in Robert Saleh to be a floor raiser for the whole team, but specifically on defense. And we have seen him. It's funny. We've actually seen him in New York. We saw him with one of the best collections of talent on defense that the league had, right? Like, there were some killers on that defense, and he maximized them. Mm-hmm. In San Francisco last year, we saw him with a defense where the killers were quickly removed, and he still was maximizing them, not to the same level, but he was still getting them to play winning football. And so I think that the Titans are going to look at specifically last year and say, we need him to be able to do a little bit of that, because we're not going to fix this roster in one off season. And this defense is do we agree that the defense is in a lot worse shape right now than the offense is? I think that's pretty obvious, right? Like,
yeah,
we spent the entire back half of last year saying nobody cares about the defense because it's broken beyond repair.
Yes.
So if that's what we're going into this offseason is like, the defense needs a lot more love, I think they're going to look to free agency more for that. But we'll see. I don't want to discredit your argument at all, because I think you can make an argument for both ways, and they're being appropriately cryptic on this.
Well, because because they have more foundational pieces on offense set, I feel like offense is going to be likely supplemented through free agency, and the defense kind of need to build the foundation through the draft like they did for the offense already. Because you've got Skoronski, Latham, Cam as your last 3 first-round picks, correct?
Yes.
Am I missing anybody in there?
No, that's correct.
Okay. Offense. Then you've got some wide receivers. You got a running back that's kind of up in flux. You got some tight ends in there to help out. And you've got your O-line. The defense, you haven't spent a first-round pick on defense since what? Caleb Farley?
Yeah. Correct. And that went awesome.
Yeah, great. And then the second most recent first-round pick on defense is Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes. This is so dumb that I'm sitting here guessing when I'm sitting in front of a computer. I've now pulled up their draft history. So yes, they drafted Farley in 21, and then before that,
Farley,
Simmons
Burks,
in 19.
Skoronski, Latham, Cam.
Correct.
Wilson,
just for reference,
Wilson,
the last
Jeff,
few years.
Landry, Davis, Adoree, Conklin, Marcus.
Well done. So their last couple of drafts.
Chance Warmack.
Oh, we get it, dude. Holy cow, we get it. All
Jake
right.
Walker, Derek Morgan, Kenny Britt, Chris Johnson, Michael Griffin, Vince Young, 05 didn't have a pick. No, 04 they didn't have a pick. 05 was, I don't know, Pac-Man. Got it.
All right, your cookie and gold star are in the mail. That was impressive. Here are their
20
last
years.
Listen, that was nice. I couldn't have done that. Here are their last couple of drafts in terms of offense, defense, going in order. So they went offense, defense, defense, and then offense, except for one defensive back on day 3 last year. In 2024, they obviously went offense, defense, 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 offense, defense, defense. So they actually only drafted 2 offensive players in 2024 and 5 defensive players. The year before that was much heavier. Actually, it was only offense. So just kidding. 2023. Now, what bearing does that have on the current roster? Very little, because besides Peter Skoronski and Tajay Spears, everybody else is gone. Well, Will Levis is not gone, but you get what I'm saying. So we actually don't even have to pay attention to any of the draft classes pre-2024, because as has been well documented, all of these cats ain't here anymore.
Yes. Now,
All of this being said, by the way, I still think they're going to take an edge in the first round. So like, not
well, hey,
not discrediting my point.
You want to look at you've got Titans draft history pulled up. I've got the Jets Robert Saleh draft history pulled up. Let's see what that looks like when it comes to this conversation. Then I'll update the YouTube poll after we've had plenty of time for that to update. But first, let me tell you guys about our great friends at windownation.com. Window Nation is where to go for your brand new windows. My wife and I did that back in the fall, and these windows are awesome. They're state of the art. They're great. They're helping us save money on our bills every month. They're upping the value and quality of our home when it comes to the market valuation, all these type of things. Whenever you're trying to refinance or trying to figure out what the appraisal on your house is and how much that's gone up since you moved in or bought it, windows are a big deal. That's a big needle mover there, and Window Nation can help you out and do it very easily on you. It's a super easy process. You go to windownation.com. You have Roy come over to your home in Middle Tennessee area. He's there for about an hour. He goes through the presentation. There's no pressure. You can say, no, I'm not right now. And he says, okay, no big deal. Or you can say, yes, this is something that we need, something we want to do. And then they find out how to make it happen for you. And it's whether it's deferring monthly payments for X amount of months, X amount of years, they can do that. 0% financing for up to 2 years right now in February. And the buy 4 windows, get 4 windows for free deal has an extra 10% off for the rest of the month. So check that out. Windownation.com is where to go. Windownation.com.
Hit that like button, please. It's very easy. It's very free. It's very helpful for us. So the thumbs up button right below our faces on your screen. Hit that and then jump into the comments. We appreciate it.
All right, so we're asking the question, will the Titans invest more on youth or experience on the defense side of the ball? So it's a classic draft or free agency type of conversation. The YouTube poll, you said you guessed it was 60-40, right? Which direction was the 60?
60
in the chat.
Veteran experience.
Okay, so on the YouTube poll, it is 59% youth, 41% experience.
Interesting.
So a little flippy-floppy there. All right, so we just went through the Titans draft history, and I just went full dudes being dudes, as somebody said there in the chat, by just listening to the last 20 years of Titans first-round draft picks off the dome. So let's go to the Robert Saleh Jets draft classes with him as a head coach. I'm going to focus on the first, 4 picks of each draft, right? Because that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, day 1 and 2 picks for the most part.
And at times, maybe a fourth rounder, depending on
top 100-ish picks, right?
First 4 picks of each draft. 2021, I'm just going to list the positions. 2021, quarterback, O-line, wide receiver, running back. 2022, cornerback, wide receiver, linebacker, running back. Those players are both defensive and offensive rookies of the year, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
And they had 3 first-round draft picks in 2022.
They
went Jermaine Johnson at 26 overall, and then Breece Hall at 36 overall. So they had those guys at top. It's crazy. Top 4 picks, 4 in the top 36. Nuts.
Imagine that draft class and still sucking so hard.
Well, that was literally 2020. I guess that was the year right before Aaron Rodgers popped his Achilles.
Correct.
So there was your first 4 picks of 22, a cornerback, wide receiver, linebacker, running back. In 2023, they had less draft capital, but they went D-end, O-line. I'm not going to count the 5th round running back. 2024, Robert Saleh's last draft as head coach of the Jets. They went O-line, wide receiver, running back.
And that's all reflective of the fact that the whole thing with Saleh, while he was there, was that the defense was good, but they could never figure out the offense. So they just kept taking swings on offense. And the funny thing is you can't even say that they didn't work. A lot of the swings on offense did work, and the team still just stunk.
Well, yes, quarterback was the main reason.
Correct.
And because the first guy that I mentioned when I went through that was Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was the first draft pick for Robert Saleh's Jets in 2021, 2nd overall. But I mean, crazy how many running backs they drafted. Michael Carter, high 4th round running back. The year after that, Breece Hall, 36th overall running back. In 2023, mid round running back. Then in 2024, they drafted a running back every draft, and they drafted 2 running backs sometimes in a class. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that tells you anything or if that was just throwing stuff at the wall continued. So,
I mean, I don't think so. I think that this team is going to, and this is not just a Saleh thing. It's based on what I know about the front office. They want they want a stable of running backs, some fresh bodies. So
I just don't know if they have are they gonna roster the fourth running back because they don't have room for one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
So that's that one. So again, my vote is I think this Titans team goes heavier defense in the draft compared to offense in the draft.
Okay.
And now, does that mean? I think we know the fourth overall pick is highly likely to be defense, right?
Let's circle back on that after next week.
Okay, after
we
next week, let's just establish this. What percentage chance right now, pre-combine, do you think the Titans draft a defensive player at fourth overall?
Well, it's like in my head, their options are the 3 edge rushers or Carnell Tate.
Right.
So 75% chance they draft a defender, I guess.
I think it's higher than that.
Right, but I think it's at least a 3/4 chance right now.
I think that's on the low end for sure.
I think what we are collectively overlooking is the fact that the odds are they won't just be like, they won't have these guys graded 1A, 1B, 1C on their board of like, we'd be happy with any of these guys because they're all three very different players.
Totally.
Interestingly different.
The Titans are Goldilocks and they got a bunch of different temperatures of porridge.
Exactly. And so it's like, I think there's a very good chance that 2 of the 3 are gone by pick 4. Like pick 2 and 3 could go edge, and then the Titans are staring at sloppy thirds, and maybe it just so happens they were like, this is the guy we wanted anyways, and they'll draft him.
Well, but if they do that, then they will tell you that's who they wanted anyways.
Of course. But even if they, and maybe they lie, maybe they don't, maybe they just get lucky because again, these guys are so different, and each team is going to be targeting different skill sets. I just think there's a decent chance that they get to the third guy available. That third guy was their third guy, and they're just like, for whatever reason, and they let the board dictate, hey, we have Carnell Tate graded higher than this guy. We're going to take Carnell Tate. I don't think that's likely, but again, I just think we are all lumping those 3 into the same tier, which for a lot of us, ask any given scout, they may just be like, yeah, I think that they're all very different, but they're in the same tier of top 5 picks. Yeah. But there are going to be plenty of people that think, I think this guy's more top 10. I think this guy's more top 15. I can't quite get there on top 5. And if the Titans are that way about whoever's left for him at 3, they'll draft someone else.
Yeah. No, so you're 75% chance they're drafting defense right now pre-combine. Look, I think I'm 90. I'm going to walk it back to 85 just because
I talked you down 5%. All right.
You talked me down 5%. Yeah. Because maybe there's another offensive player that they like it for.
And maybe they hit Carnell Tate, by the way.
But Carnell Tate what if Carnell Tate runs 4.4 something next week? I don't know.
Right.
That changes stuff.
Things
slightly.
Can change.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So 35 is where things are like up in the air, coin flips, right? It's just like there could be a receiver there. There could be a myriad of corners there. If you don't go edge at 4, then there's edge players at 35. Just the graphic that I'm going to think we're going to continue to show throughout this draft process is Dane Brugler's top 100. The green bars all the way across your screen from left to right are the 3 biggest positions of needs for the Titans, which means with the Titans currently having 4 picks in the top 101, they have a really good chance they're going to get some good players in those top 4 picks at 101 because of how this draft is stacked up with the positions and distribution of that. So I don't know what's going to happen, but 35 and 66 picks are super fascinating and can go many different directions. And I cannot wait for it. So that's the Gus Bradley conversation on that one. You asked T'Vondre Sweat, or you asked Gus Bradley about T'Vondre Sweat.
Yes.
And it was word for word the longest answer Gus Bradley gave at his press conference on Wednesday about any single question. So we will play you the answer to Easton's T'Vondre Sweat question to Gus Bradley in a moment. But first, Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. BartonDrury.com is the website. Great relationship we have with Barton Drury Insurance Group. A to Z Sports uses them for our workers' comp policy, our employee health coverage for health, dental, vision across the board there. And they can help you out whatever your insurance needs are by going to Barton Drury Insurance Group. The phone number is also right there on the screen too. You can scan that QR code, all the different ways you can get in touch with them because they communicate all over the ways you can do that, whether it's a phone call, Zoom calls, email threads. I'm sure they'll give you a text line to get to if you need them, because they'll help you work through the different nuances of insurance policies and what's the right thing for you to not sacrifice the coverage. Just like the Titans don't want to sacrifice Fast and Furious, Barton Drury will not sacrifice coverage for cost. So they will take care of you online, bartondrury.com. Make sure you hit that like button for us on the show. If you have not liked the show on YouTube and Facebook, please do it. That goes a long way. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. I keep seeing the stats, and I'm going to keep bringing it up. More people watch the show that are not subscribers to the YouTube channel than subscribers that watch the show, which to me makes no sense. I don't, that just doesn't math, in my opinion. But that's what YouTube's telling me.
Well,
so
let's fix that.
Check and see if you subscribe to the channel, because that just makes it easier on everybody. It's free. You don't have to pay anything for that. All right, so Easton, set the table here, because I don't know if JT included the question to the Sweat answer or not. But what did you ask Gus Bradley about T'Vondre Sweat?
I asked him kind of the obligatory question. Hey, we know you guys are going to run a 4-3. We know that in recent history, guys that are built like T'Vondre Sweat, and in fairness, there aren't a whole lot of guys like T'Vondre Sweat in the league, haven't had a role in your defense so much. We know that Robert Saleh likes guys that are fast more so than he likes guys that are big and hard to move on his defensive front, because he likes to get after, or try to get after the quarterback with 4 and not have to blitz very much. And so, and also like Sweat, just very general profile is he's a 3-4 nose, not a 4-3 guy. So what are you going to do with this guy? Like, what's the role going to be? And I was expecting to get a generic non-answer of sorts, but he took the question kind of in a different direction.
Well, I think, to be honest with you right now, I mean, we're talking about staff. We're going through scheme. We're, giving the scouts a good idea what each position looks like. Had conversations. We're really excited about all the guys. And that's just, I've always believed that when you come into a new situation, the previous staff has done a good job. There's obviously some good things that have taken place with them. Our job is to continue to add to what they've already built and take it to another level. And also, I think that's very important as coaching staff. We give the players a fresh start. I think in the years I've done it, when a new staff comes in, that's what they're hoping for. Man, I just hope I have a fresh start, that you don't talk to everybody in the building, get all these notions of who I am and what I'm all about, and then you base your opinion off of that rather than just meet me, watch me play, and then make judgment. And so I'm really trying to stay in that world. I think Robert is too, to try to protect that part of it, to say, let's get to know them. We're excited about everybody in the building, and let's give them that fresh start. And let's see what takes place.
So I asked the question, and I know what I take away from it. Austin, I'm curious what you take away.
What did you hope? What was the answer you wanted? I'm just fascinated. I'm just curious, because I don't think that was the answer you were looking for.
Scenario?
Yeah.
That he's like, listen, I know that people have had this question. We've seen it. T'Vondre Sweat's a guy that was a really high draft pick, young player, talented player. Guys like Jeff really enjoy working with T'Vondre Sweat. Jeff said this offseason that he needs him around. And we're going to, it's on coaches, ultimately, to maximize the good players on their roster and build a scheme that fits the players, not players that fit the scheme. And that's what we're going to try to do with T'Vondre Sweat. Like, that's the best case scenario for them to be like, guys, T'Vondre is a good player, and it's on us to figure out the best way to maximize him. Would have been, I think, the best case scenario for the Titans if he'd said it that way. I was not even a little bit expecting him to say that, but I think that's, and to be fair, the fact that he didn't say that then is not something indictment on Sweat, because we saw this with both coordinators. If you ask them about any one particular player that isn't clear, like with Jeffrey Simmons, it's very easy and safe for Gus Bradley to be like, oh man, Jeffrey Simmons is just the best. What is there not to love about Jeffrey Simmons? That's inoffensive to everybody. You're not setting Jeff up to fail by saying he's awesome, because he's that kind of a dude. And even then, when he was asked about Jeff, we don't have it to play, but go listen to what he said about Jeff. He eventually got to the like, who wouldn't be excited to coach Jeff stuff. But he started the answer with kind of the same qualifiers of, well, you know, as a new coach, we're going to come in, we're going to give everybody a clean slate, even Jeff. Even Jeff's going to get a clean slate. So he was even couching on Jeff Simmons, who everyone in the league agrees is the, you know, best or second best defensive tackle in the league, as our friend Jake is calling me. He should know I'm on the morning show. So yeah, that's how I took it, Austin. What did you take away from it?
I mean, I think it's fair, especially with T'Vondre Sweat, because there's a lot of preconceived notions about T'Vondre Sweat from his time at Texas, how polarizing he was as a draft prospect, how much he weighed. Does he work hard enough? Can he lose weight? Is he just somebody who naturally gains weight? Is he I only want to play the football games type of guy? He had an tonsillitis in training camp that lasted like the longest.
Well, we don't actually know that he had tonsillitis. We just know that he got a tonsillectomy.
Okay, he had his tonsils removed in training camp. And
right, I'm not sure it had to do with tonsillitis, actually, but
nobody. So
I don't want to speak out of turn.
Okay.
My understanding is that it was as much of a breathing issue as anything, which is a different medical issue, but not like tonsillitis is an infection of your tonsils that requires removal.
His tonsils were removed in training camp for some purpose.
For a medical reason, yes. Yeah.
It wasn't just like you know what? I'm going to get ahead of things. I'm going to remove my tonsils just to be careful.
That's right.
I'm going to pick training camp to do it. Like,
let's be super clear on that. I'm not reporting anything here. I just know he had him removed for a medical reason. That's all.
Yeah. So anyway, there's stuff. Regardless, there are things that are floating around about T'Vondre Sweat that can be quickly telephoned into hearsay and to inaccuracies. And the coach B just says he did it for the ice cream. He had his tonsils removed for the ice cream.
That's crazy and rude.
Funny,
how dare you?
Hilarious. Like, coach said I can't have ice cream, so I took my tonsils out so I can have ice cream. So funny.
No. I'm sure it was kale smoothies, not ice cream.
Yeah. But, you know, I think it's a fair way to answer it. It doesn't say, you know, I don't know what they're going to try to do. Like this, is it a 4-3 defense? Is it a 3-4 defense? Everybody runs a combination of different fronts and all that kind of stuff. But T'Vondre Sweat is a very specific kind of guy. Like Jeffrey Simmons, put him in. I don't care what you put him in. He's going to be good.
Yeah, he's schemeless, 100%.
Right. I think, you know, another schemeless guy the Titans have had in the past, Danico Autry, is a fairly schemeless guy.
Very, very versatile in that.
T'Vondre Sweat, I don't know if is a schemeless guy.
Well, the question is versatility, and T'Vondre Sweat's mold is he's like when you're picking a Mario Kart character. He's not an all around guy. He's a specialist, right? His build and athleticism lend to specialization. He does a certain set of skills very well, but he's not like Mario, where it's like, well, he's fast and
here we go. New offseason content is you are matching Titans players with their Mario Kart characters.
You know who'd be incredible at this? Better than I.
Really
actually, yes, but somebody that we actually employ.
Oh, JT?
Yeah, This is JT. If he's listening to this, is salivate. He's probably already started on this idea as he's listening.
Wario's totally Jeffrey Simmons, right?
You think Jeffrey is Wario? I don't know. JT, chime in if you're around.
He's kind of the evil villain, isn't he?
You know what this might be? This might be a Easton and JT have a 4-hour car ride on Monday, and they sit and figure that out. That might be our activity.
Okay. So but we don't know. Is T'Vondre Sweat going to be here? You know,
we don't.
Is T'Vondre Sweat going to be here by the time training camp starts?
I think by training camp, yes. Yeah. I think if they were to trade him, it would be on the Jarvis Brownlee timeline, where it's like sometime
in the season.
So sometime between the beginning of August and the middle of October. Yeah. Well, not even that. I mean, like Brownlee was moved after week 3, so it was like way before the trade deadline.
Like September.
Yeah. So okay. So I think it would be I stand by what I said. Beginning of August to middle of October. I don't expect this to happen. By the way, I don't think that they're going to. But if they were to move him, I don't think it would come before training camp. No.
Yeah, I haven't played Mario Kart in recent enough to know the specific Wario skill set to know if that's Jeffrey
I'd have
Simmons.
to brush up.
I just know Jeffrey Simmons and Wario have similar mindsets, which is just ruin everything in front of them.
Well, really, we don't need to do Mario Kart, by the way, not to get too in the weeds. We need to do. Did you ever play Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games? That was a big Wii game when I was a kid. Chat's going to know what I'm talking about. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. That was, I mean, that had all of the characters graded as literal Olympian athletes.
They had like attributes and like
yeah, like athletic traits.
Yes.
So we'll go off of that board.
Yeah. Levis is the ghost. All right. So, anything else on the Devondre Sweat part of this? Because I find it interesting. Of our guy Kyle Krabs. They were doing. Here's another topic for another day. On his national scouting show with Joe Marino, they were going through every NFL team and listing the top 5 players on each team on their rookie contracts. And Devondre Sweat was in their 5 for the Titans. But they also mentioned, who knows? Like,
right.
It's not
like Devondre is a good player. There's a lot of haters out there that wish that he had the pass rush chops of Jeffrey Simmons, which is just I don't know what you're like foolish hating, in my opinion. Devondre, a lot like JC, had kind of a slow start to the year last year with the injuries and missing a lot of August and September stuff. But again, these guys suffer from Titans-itis a little bit, where it's by the time they started playing well, no one, not even Titans people, were really watching the Titans, right? And so the few sickos of us who were paid to or just really sick in the head, going through the game film and watching the games intently and like doing the full grind in week 13 where it's like, holy crap, this is miserable. Know that he was playing good ball. He was playing very good ball last year by the end of the year. I want that guy on my team. Sorry. And I think the Titans do too.
Yeah.
The whole whispers thing about Sweat, which I talked about openly at the time around the Brownlee conversation last year, was that he was a name that was not so quietly evoked as somebody that could be in that mold of. Brownlee was not moved for his on-field play exclusively. It was the off-field stuff. We know this now. I got kind of throttled for it, saying it the day that it happened by certain people in this industry, but it's, I think, more widely accepted now. Mm-hmm. And I still am a huge Jarvis fan, by the way. I think he's a good player. Sweat's thing, if they move Sweat, it's going to have just as much, if not more, to do with his off-field habits than it does his on-field production. But another thing, an important part of this that I heard Kaharski, for example, the other day bring up the same thing that I'm telling you. Brownlee's name, Sweat's name was evoked in that whole Brownlee conversation for all of these reasons, and he's right about that. The thing that I don't want us to lose sight of is, and I don't know who heard what, I'll just say what I heard, that in the same breath, when Sweat's name was brought up in that conversation, there was also something to the tune of, but also different levels of talent are afforded different lengths of leash, right? And Devondre Sweat he was a 2nd round pick. A guy like Brown,
a more talented player
was a
than
5th round pick, right? What did Jimmy Johnson used to say with the Cowboys? I treat all of my players the same, differently. That's how it goes with better players on football teams. So if he's playing good ball, there's going to be a longer leash, and that's a big part of the reason why I don't think he's going anywhere.
Jarvis Brownlee continued to suplex receivers and costing the team 15-yard penalties after giving.
Stand by that Jarvis is a good player, but that's a conversation.
He's a good player. He just has no self-control.
I get it.
But wrapped up and has a guy off the ground. He's like, I'm going to drive this guy into the earth and get penalized for it. So, all right. Good news time to wrap up the show. If you've got good news in the chat, please share it. It's definitely a day where I think a lot of people, especially in the Vols circles, could use some good news to share. So good news time today. Let's hear it. With Ain't That Good News, I did want to see, I saw a comment from DeMario earlier when we were discussing the tragedy of the passing of Wes Rucker, that DeMario's cousin was recently killed, well, in a really, really scary situation in Nashville. So I wanted to pass that condolences along to one of our guys who watches our show every day. So good news in the chat. What made you giggle right there?
JT in a very poorly timed text. I am not giggling at what you're talking about.
No, I
I'm
know
very
that.
sorry
I
for
knew
Mario.
that because I got the same text.
JT finally caught up to us talking about Mario comps, and he's disgusted at our lack of ball knowledge. So we'll
I admitted before JT texted, I had not played Mario Kart in I don't know how many years. So
yeah. So
I don't know.
Monday's car ride on Twitter, we'll probably post a definitive list of Mario comps to Titans players.
Again, I'm way better at listing the last 20 years of Titans first round draft picks than I am Mario Kart comparisons, which I think is a good thing considering what we do for a living. So
before we get to good news, I have two random comments I'd like to address from the show. Patrick asks, will the top defensive guys work out at the combine? Which is a good question. Let's kind of save this question for Monday because somebody who's more equipped with the intel of who will and won't work out is Ryan Roberts, who I'll be on the show with. Yep. I do know that like David Bailey is a guy that's expected to test because he's expected to jump out of the gym and be the athleticism is going to be on full display with him. He'd be foolish not to test. I don't know about the others. Let's ask Ryan on Monday. The other thing, I'm curious. Kitchen asks, am I missing something? Where's Zach? When was the last time Zach was consistently on the show on Fridays? How long ago was that?
2022.
Okay. I was just wondering how many years behind Kitchen is. So welcome back after 4 years off. This is the new
2023. Maybe some 2023 years. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Time doesn't make sense.
Well, Kitchen is not tuned in for a presidential term, it seems. But welcome back.
Yes. Zach is actually speaking at the University of Alabama. Yeah, I don't know why Alabama is asking an Ole Miss guy to come in there.
Particle physics, or what is he lecturing on?
On I don't know, just business things.
Okay.
Business things. So
the Israeli conflict.
Yeah, that's it. Islands and how not to go there. And
that's right.
Protecting your emails. But Zach's no longer a part of the show because our business has grown to the fact where he needs to be doing other things, and we have divided and conquered certain duties.
A to Z Sports suffering from success is what I'm hearing.
Well, and so that leads to my good news is that A to Z Sports will have a presence on Radio Row at the NFL Combine. We have a table watch 2026 finally ended because Easton's been asking me for a table at the Combine for months. Like
for
I have
3 months, I've been annoying everyone about we must get a table. We must get a table.
Like we can ask for one, but it's not in our control. But our table was granted, and we are technically table number 5 of 60 tables at the NFL Combine. So pumped about that. And glad that we are going to have badass coverage of the NFL Combine. It's going to be awesome. We have a crew of 7 going to the NFL Combine, including Easton and JT and Ryan. So 3 of the 7 right there already. But Travis May doing awesome things, our college football and draft managing editor on the website, who is continuously working on new developmental products for A to Z that we will talk about down the road. We've also got our guy Kyle Krabs, who is known widely across the NFL draft landscape. We have now Destin Adams, who lives in Indianapolis conveniently and also is really good at leading some of our NFL draft coverage, and Joe DeLeon, who co-hosts Best Pod Available with Ryan Roberts. So if you're watching this show, go to Best Pod Available on YouTube, because that is what Ryan and Joe DeLeon have launched over the last couple of months. That is a great draft podcast. All of this as well. So I'm pumped up about what we have coming for the NFL Combine.
Yeah, Eric asks, I got the wrong one. Whoops. What does getting a table mean? I understand that's probably okay, who cares about a table?
Very important. It's very
important for our purposes in terms of content, because the media workroom in the Indianapolis Convention Center is, I don't know, 0.2 of a mile away from the Radio Row. So
brisk walk.
Right. There's a convention hall where half of it there's a curtain in the middle, half of it is Radio Row with tables set up for The Athletic and ESPN and NBC, and everybody's table. Every radio station has a table, and it's a bunch of studios lined up in a row. Radio Row. And then the other side of the curtain are all the podiums that you see where we talked to every coach and GM and prospect throughout the week. And so a lot of the actual content creation happens there, minus the writing. All of the writing happens in the media workroom, which is a 7 or 8 minute walk away. which is not terrible. Like everybody makes that walk back and forth and you get your steps in because Lord knows we're all eating and drinking poorly up there in Indianapolis. So we're at least getting our cardio in for the day.
Everybody gets gout in Indianapolis.
That's right. That's right. Scurvy, not enough oranges. But so having a table is going to allow guys like me who do, the interview draft series with a handful of guests to not have to like set up randomly in the convention hall a makeshift studio. We can like have people that are already down there just step to our table really quick and record stuff. And I can record something with Ryan and Joe really quick. I can record something with Kyle really quick. We can do the morning show live from Radio Row at a permanent studio setup instead of from my laptop in my Airbnb. Like it's going to be way better to make more and better content.
Without a doubt.
So I'm stoked.
It's going to be sweet. This is
the
adults
table, Scott. There's not we were at the children's table. I won't lie to you. We are now at the adult table.
Yeah. Table number 5 next to, I want to say Yahoo Sports and NBC Sports.
Yahoo, NBC, The Athletic.
The Athletic's right around there.
And
a couple tables
the
down. The Associated Press, all that kind of stuff. Real quick, Robert W. Roberts Ski Fishing. Wish you guys would answer my questions since I followed you guys and like every show for the last few years. So this day, you never answer my question.
Never. What's your question, Robert?
I apologize. I did this. There's no purpose.
There's no malice here.
The only person we purposely ignore at times is Jeff Rubel.
That's right.
So other than that, we try to get to the questions that we find are relevant. If they're not on topic of what we're doing in time, sometimes we'll jump over those. But good news throughout the show. That was my good news. Easton, I'm sure that kind of lines up with your good news for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see if we can find some good news here in the
I have one more good news.
Oh, okay.
At risk of jinxing myself, but I just don't care. If you've heard me all morning, you know that I am not able to breathe out of my nose. I have gotten sick for the second time this winter. I had the flu in January, which was way worse than this. I now just have like a head cold. But this is exactly the kind of illness that like half of the population of the combine will come down with from our close quarters next week. And I'm just glad
you are taking it there. You're bringing it to them.
Yep. And those people are screwed. But for me, I'm getting it out of the way now. And I will, this started 3 days ago. I will be, to those of you that I'm going to see in Indianapolis, I will not be contagious, nor will I be a snotty mess when I get there on Tuesday. That is many days
all this
from now.
snot out of the way now.
Right.
Jeff,
my infection will be gone, but I'm glad to be getting it out of the way now and have that little immunity boost for next week.
Jeff, Alyssa Liu won gold medal for USA in women's figure skating after taking 2.5 years off. Also, her dad fled China and had 5 kids using surrogate donor eggs. That's a wild story.
I heard I need to go watch the video. Apparently, it's some of the best skating you've ever seen. I need to go watch it.
That's pretty sweet. Titans Kyle, good news. Watching the show from Hawaii. It's early over there.
All right, flex, dude. I guess. Right. Congrats on being cool. I wish I was with you.
Billy says year 6 with the A to Z morning show. Shout out. How about that?
Your catalog is coming in the mail. You get to choose from like a watch or a portfolio. Yeah, we should have like the 10-year catalogs you get. It's like 5 years with the company.
Wow. Dalen, good news. The Queen Orchestra was absolutely epic as expected. Hell yeah. That sounded awesome last week. That
rules.
Ocho Man says good news. The Bears going to Indiana. Which a quick text, Sam Phelan is coping, saying it's a good thing. Which I've heard other things saying it's a good thing because it's way closer to Chicago than Santa Clara is to San Francisco. In those situations where Chicago will still get the tourist traffic for the Bears games, but not have to pay the taxes for the build of the new stadium. So there is a little bit of a ha-ha.
All I know is Indiana, the great state of Indiana, now has 2 professional NFL teams, which is crazy.
And 2 Heisman trophies all of a sudden.
How about that?
More good news. Justin, I would mess JT up in Mario Kart.
That's them's fighting words right there.
That's right. Let's see. There was a good news I wanted to read specifically if I can find it.
While you're finding it, did we see this? U.S. women hockey team kicking Canada's butt for the gold medal with one of the butt. No, but one of the greatest
awesome
called game shots you've ever seen in your life. Yeah,
it was
nasty move.
It was awesome. It was awesome, and I will say this. Here is a side good news for me. When that happened, it dawned on me yesterday during that overtime period that every Thursday, A to Z I have a standing Thursday meeting represented by 4 different countries.
What?
Yeah.
Can I get, okay, hang on. Is it an internal meeting?
It's an internal meeting with some of our consultants.
Oh, consultants. Oh, okay. I was going to guess the country.
Who
What
are
the
a part
countries?
of our team. They do a great job, Joe and David.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Joe and David, I talk to them every Thursday and more. They are Canadian. And so we're sitting up, we pull up the meeting right as the third period ends, and Joe's over there like, and I'm like, and then during the meeting, gold
Losers.
wins, gold ours, you lose, haha. And I
Yeah.
also realized that representing that same call are Mexico and Brazil. So I was
Oh, how
like,
about
dang,
that?
you're 4 nations sitting here in this Thursday call every week. It's been like that for 2 years.
UN meeting on Thursdays.
Yeah, basically. I'm just trying to solve Google. So last thing I found, Manifest said, love yourself and someone. You're more important than you think you are. Love you guys. Tightened up. I think that's a good way to end this show. I think it's easy to, but I don't want to take for granted of you guys having us as a part of your routine every day. It's pretty cool, So I like the way we're able to build the relationship through all of these different chats and discussions and opinions and disagreements and all that. But I truly do appreciate the time you guys give us, A to Z, all the content we create, and the conversations back and forth.
Absolutely.
All right. Easton, I will see you shortly as we gather up all the things we need for the NFL Combine. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Combine is next week. Get ready for it. Like the show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great, safe weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks.